Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Rundown. I will be your host today, Craig DeLuz, coming at you from the West Coast, the left coast, behind the Iron Curtain, otherwise known as the Sierras. But as we all know, I do not do this program by myself.
That's right. My name's Mike Piowarski, coming to you live from the East Coast. That's the coast with the most from the co-host with the most here on the Rundown. Two-way views, conservative news, and Craig, happy Festivus. Guess what day it is?
It's raining tacos from out of the sky. Tacos, no need to ask why. Just open your mouth and close your eyes. It's raining tacos.
It's raining tacos out in the street. Tacos, all you can eat. Lettuce and shells, cheese and meat. It's raining tacos. Yum, 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 yummity yum. It's like a dream. Yum, 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 yummity yum. Bring your sour cream.
That's right. It is Taco Tuesday. So, what kind of tacos shall you be enjoying this evening, this fine Festivus?
So because it was Festivus, I went with the traditional Festivus meal first. I was gonna have the tacos, but all I saw was fish tacos. And listen, you got to make sure a fish taco is clean before you eat it. And I decided didn't have that kind of time, so I went and had a gobbler. I had the gobbler.
Gobbler.
Yeah,
What
it's
is
a
a
big
gobbler?
old turkey. You can either get it in a bowl or on a big
Okay.
old hoagie bun, sandwich bun, a Subway bun, sub bun, and it's got turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, maybe some mac and cheese. You put some onions, some lettuce in there, some cranberry dressing, maybe a little horseradish. Cover that thing up, heat it up a little bit. Bam! It's the gobbler.
You know what? I got to tell you, I did not think that would sound tasty, but it does.
Yeah. Oh yeah. A little gravy on there too, maybe. Something like
Oh,
that. Yeah.
you got to have it slightly. You said slightly toasted hoagie, right?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Got to have the gravy over it.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the best of the entire Thanksgiving meal. The only thing I would probably add, and this is probably just the black thing, is just a wee sprinkle of collard greens.
Collard greens. You mean colored greens?
Collard greens, not
Oh,
colored
I thought you said it's a black
greens.
thing.
Collard greens from a colored person. How about that?
Collard. Oh, not colored. Collared. Got it. Okay. It's like,
Mustard
why are you
greens, collard greens. There is a
Yeah,
difference. But
the gobbler is basically whatever's left over from Thanksgiving or from your Christmas dinner, and you just make it the next day.
yes. Which, by the way, leftovers are the best part of Thanksgiving dinner, in my opinion.
Yes, yeah, like
First
the
of
flaming
all,
turkey beans. Yeah,
the flavor has fully soaked in particular into the turkey, and then plus you get the best of
bacteria.
everything, and you just kind of just like a succotash.
there you go.
There you go.
Very true.
So how are
So
you?
what
How are
kind of
you
turkey you got
planning
today?
on celebrating Festivus this year?
Well, I've been putting together my list of complaints for airing of the grievances later tonight. I have been stretching, getting ready for the feats of strength. The aluminum pole is already up inside the house. No
Mhm.
tinsel, because I find tinsel distracting. And I beat some guy up at the store over a doll. So
Wow. Well, there you go. Sounds like you
Yeah.
are 100% prepared. Still working on getting rid of the tinsel here.
oh yeah, I'm all about the Festivus. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Looks like we have an early attendee here today. We have Mr. Valentinian 100 watching us over on YouTube. Hand pink waving. I don't know what you mean by hand pink waving. I don't know what that means. Maybe he's a liberal. She's a liberal. They're a liberal. Who knows? But they're watching us on YouTube. So what's up? Thank you for giving us a shout out.
Yeah. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here. We appreciate you tuning in
Yeah.
and encouraging your friends to do the same. Let's get into today's stories and start the way we always start, with a quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yeah, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. If you want to get yourself some AR barrels, it's the place to go. They got rifle caliber, pistol caliber, any length you desire to build your next AR or rebarrel your current AR platform. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. If you want the best in concealed tactical holsters, get on over to Hog Holsters. That's HAWG holsters.com, hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown. That's all one word, no spaces, all caps. Get yourself a nice little discount. And if you need field gear, web gear, law enforcement, fire, security, EMS, personal security, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
That's right, folks. These are our sponsors. They bring us to you so that we can bring you to them. Do us a favor. Do them a favor. Do yourself a favor. Visit their websites. We make it simple for you. All you have to do is follow the links in the description of this program. Go there, check them out, spend some money with them, and make sure you tell them it was the guys over at The Rundown that sent you. Also want to encourage you, if you're watching this program live, we encourage you to go ahead and comment. By the way, that's 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern. Comments always make it more interesting, in particular if you disagree with us, because when you disagree with us, it gives us the opportunity to mock you.
Oh, wow, is that a mockingbird?
Man, is that a mockingbird? Is that a mockingbird?
And mocking you is always fun.
We will mock you.
It be like it. Anyway, we're going to have a good time on today's show, so we very much appreciate you tuning in. Once again, encourage your friends to tune in so we can have these conversations. All right, let's get on into the program. A lot of people have been downplaying the Trump economy. You have a lot of people talking about how the jobs market is so slow. The stock market, when initially went down, they said the Trump economy, the economy is doomed. Democrats started throwing around terms like affordability, like how are we going to make it more affordable? And Trump's America is not affordable. Well, evidently, it seems to be affordable for some folks because according to the economic numbers, the economy appears to be surging, defying all the naysayers.
We are getting a fresh look at the state of the economy today. U.S. gross domestic product increased 4.3% in the third quarter, and this number reflects increases in consumer spending, exports, and government spending that were partly offset by a decrease in investment. It comes as CBS News polling shows a mix of views when it comes to holiday shopping. A majority of Americans say they'll be buying the same or less this holiday season compared to past years. Let's bring in CBS News contributor Javier David. He's also the business editor at the Dallas Morning News. So Javier, this data is from July, August, September. What does it tell you about the state of the economy as we wrap up the year?
Yeah, look, it's a portrait of an economy that hasn't fallen off a cliff when it had all the reasons to do so. Doom and gloom over tariffs. We were talking about recession not too long ago. AI, the robots all coming to take our jobs, but the economy still continues to expand. You have a jobs market that's clearly weakening, and consumers, as your data mentioned, deeply unhappy, real affordability crisis, but the economy continues to expand, and that's because consumer spending comprises about 70% of overall U.S. economic activity. So the data tells us the consumers are still opening their wallets, but they're really not happy about it, and a big part of the reason why is the affordability question.
Robots could still take our jobs, maybe just not completely in 25. They might be coming.
So,
Well, hold on. First off, ease up with the R word talking about AI. You're going to get us all whacked. Okay?
No. Well, no,
Ease
they're
up
just going to
with
get they're just going to get CNN whacked.
That's just enough. I mean, wow.
These people have not seen Terminator, have they?
You can't be throwing the R word around them like that. That's just no way.
Have the robots be like, "What do you mean, you people?"
What? You just said it. What are you doing? No, I'm not with this guy. All right? Who brought this guy?
Now here's the problem. You're denigrating artificial intelligence by assuming they're the same as robots. They're not.
That's why you don't call them that.
Okay.
They get insulted. They'll whack you.
Well, there are reports of people having committed suicide because of AI. So, of course, if you're listening to what your computer is telling you to do and you're doing what your computer tells you, that's called thinning out the gene pool.
Yeah, there's nobody out there that would do that. Yeah, there's nobody that we know like that. Yeah.
there's nobody we know. Knock on
people
wood.
Like that I buy computers for Christmas for. Here you go.
Those are the people you buy computers for. But what's funny though is, and this is what I got, this is the big takeaway from that, is that the economy is actually doing okay. The jobs market is kind of right? People aren't, the investment market is kind of but that, I don't think that has anything to do with, what that has to do with a little bit, there's a little bit of uncertainty. In other words, people don't know what's going to happen with the tariffs, so it's harder for them to plan, right? That's where the uncertainty comes from, but that's not in the consumer market. That's in the investment market, right? The people who are looking to hire or who are looking to purchase things. But in overall, the people are doing just fine. The only really reason why people are all caught up on the issue of affordability is because that's all the left and when I say the left, I mean the media seem to be focused on, is how expensive things are compared to before Donald Trump was president. Except they don't focus on before Donald Trump was president. They focus on before Biden was president. And they ignore that entire increase when it comes to affordability. They ignore the entire increase in prices that happened under Joe Biden, which, by the way, accounts for about 85% of price increases.
Yes, very much so. Yeah, I mean, listen, things have become much more affordable. I mean, Craig, I was buying gas for, I know you might want to hold on to your seat. I was buying gas for $2.36 this week, a gallon. And it was double that where you are, I think, isn't it?
I hate you.
Yeah, just you know what I did?
Let's see. There are places definitely in California where it is double that. There are places, about 470. Yeah, there are definitely places in California that are double that. Not every place in California. For oddly enough, gas prices are actually down here in California too. We were expecting last summer gas prices were up around 440, 450, 460, right? And at least here in Sacramento. And that was before gas prices were supposed to go up. Well, we've actually seen gas prices drop significantly. It's down now about $3.90 here in California, or at least in Sacramento. And I'm talking at the cheap gas stations, right?
Yeah.
And that's, once again, that's after the supposed increase. Well, that's because there's been an overall reduction in gas prices nationally. California is actually also benefiting from that. The problem is we're still paying, as you noted, way more than every place else in the country.
Let's face it. Listen, gas prices have gone down in California also,
yes,
because there's less people there using gas, so they're trying to get rid of it. So.
Less demand.
Yeah.
Less demand. Yeah, fewer Californians driving.
Gas was so cheap yesterday, Craig. I sprayed like a half gallon on the ground just because I was like,
pour some out for the dead homies.
Yep, there you go. Take those. Take those out.
Look, I think what you're going to wind up seeing this Christmas is people are going to spend, and they're going to spend well. And the second part of that interview, I wasn't going to get too much into it, but the whole point that he was saying that this is CBS News, right? Is saying that investors are really, really bullish on next year, right? They're bullish, I think, in part because all indications are the tariffs are going to go away. There's a good indication that the money is not going to go back to what happened initially with the tariffs was, in the case of China, they ate the tariffs because that's how big their profit margin was on the products that they were sending to the U.S. So in that case, they ate a lot of it. Here, a lot of retailers ate a lot of it. Very little of it was actually passed on to the consumer. Now, in the end, what's going to wind up happening is all the trade deals that were negotiated are going to stay in place. So we're still going to be ahead when it comes to investments. And that's the real benefit, I think, of the Trump tariffs is the trade agreements that basically brought in about $18 billion in investment in the United States in manufacturing.
Yeah, and listen, and I bet you all of those people that said they were, Craig, they were nervous. They're not investing yet. That's probably publicly. They all know what's going on. They're all smart enough to see what this man's doing and knowing that the money's coming in. Okay. Hey, guess what? We're not paying for anymore. NATO, right? People are coughed up their own share there. That's $800 billion that that's coming back into the economy. How much are we going to be doing this year now that we stop sending Medicare and Medicaid to illegal aliens? How about that? All that money's back coming through. Because guess what? It's not getting spent on either Europeans or on illegal immigrants here. It's going to funnel back through our economy. It's going to work, and they understand that, but they can't be seen as agreeing with Trump.
Well, no, that and here's where I'm going to disagree with you, because the problem isn't so much that, it's not knowing what they're going to have to pay for stuff. So, for example, do you get into a long-term deal now? In other words, if a huge percentage of what goes into my creating a product, good or service comes from overseas, if I don't know how much I'm going to pay for it, I don't know whether I should expand or contract, whether I should try and tie in a long-term deal. I just don't know. It's not about whether or not you agree with Trump. It's not knowing. And so when you don't know, it's not that you don't like the economy. It's not that you don't feel good about the economy. Is you're going to wait till you have a little more certainty.
Listen, that if you're talking about Wall Street, maybe, but not the everyday consumer. The everyday consumer, the affordability
right.
factor, they are all like, listen, a year ago, eggs were $10 a dozen, right? Now we're throwing eggs away because they're expiring because nobody's buying them anymore because they're only $2 a dozen now.
Right. Well, once again, I'm not talking about everyday consumers. I'm talking about people who are running businesses, who are manufacturing things, creating things, and they buy in bulk products that from overseas that are part of the product that they make. That's who I'm referring to. And the only real part of the economy right now that's kind of shake. Now I don't want to say shaky is not even the right word. It's they're hesitant are those investors. And when I say investors, I'm talking about the people who are like, okay, do I bring in a bunch more stuff at a higher price, or do I wait and see if prices are going to come down because of the removal of tariffs? That's all I'm talking about. And that's not that they're, like I said, it's not that they feel the economy is bad. It's that they don't want to overcommit or undercommit and wind up having to pay more for the production of their products, goods, and services. That's all. It's not an anti-economy thing. It's not that they don't like the economy. It's just, if I suspect that a product is going to come down in price, I'm going to wait before I buy it.
Well, and I'll throw one other thing into there, not to totally disagree with you, just a wee bit, just to add to it, perhaps.
Right.
Being in the manufacturing business in that chain. The other part of that is not waiting for tariffs to go, just waiting for tariffs to go away and see what cost price are. But we've known this since Trump took office day one, and he told us about this. Now it's waiting to see how long it takes for the domestic supply chain to kick in, because we're now sourcing that in this country rather than waiting to figure out a tariff overseas. We've decided to source that within our own country, and we're waiting for that chain to produce its first couple of rounds, so we know what the norm price is going to be there. That's where we're going to be ending up buying most of our product eventually, because it's not going to be easy to buy overseas, because if tariffs continue to change, they don't want that uncertainty. So they'd rather go with maybe a couple percentage points higher, and it comes from some steel mill in Pennsylvania, rather than have to worry about what's coming from China and what it's going to cost this week.
And the affordability of those products is going to come down as we see reduction in taxes, we see reduction in regulation. So it's gonna even out, and we're gonna start to see an increase in investment. And that's basically what the guy from CBS News, the economist, was saying. He's like, as the deregulation kicks in, as the reduction in taxes kicks in, you're going to start to see more investment, which is going to also equal to more jobs and a quickening in the job market. And especially as we are getting rid of illegal immigrants who are taking jobs that Americans would do, you're going to start to see you're going to see wages come up, right? Because they're undercutting the market. You're going to see real wages come up, and you're going to start to see unemployment go down. And just by the way, so y'all know, when there's an increase in the GDP, like 4.3%, and you see that inflation is down to 2.7%, you know that difference right there? That's called economic growth. That's called real wages going up, which, by the way, in my lifetime has really only happened during two presidencies. That would be under 45 and 47. What do those two have in common, Mike?
They're identical twins.
Identical twins born 4 years apart.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's kind of the point that I think people need to understand is, and once again, I will be the first to say that, that tariffs gives me pause. They always did, because everything I was taught in economics is that the tariffs are bad. But I will always say this: the threat of tariffs have put us in a good position. So the way Trump has handled this has been masterful. It may appear to be reckless. It gives some appearances of recklessness, but it's working. And when CBS News, when CNN, when MSNBC is admitting that things are looking good, uh,
Well,
what
and
do you?
listen, I'll say this: the reason they think it's reckless, and they said this in the beginning. They said this a year ago, right? Or 10 months ago, 11 months ago. Look at the speed at which Trump operates. Right? He
Mhm,
operates at a businessman speed, not a politician speed. So when he
mhm,
had tariffs figured out in, I don't know, 3 weeks, everybody was in a panic and said it's never going to happen. Well, now here we are a year later, and they're working and they're doing exactly what he
mhm.
said.
Well,
And now they're getting
I think he also knew that. I think he knew that he was going to be on questionable legal ground, but the sooner he got them implemented, the sooner we would see benefits, the
yeah.
sooner we would see money come in, the sooner we would see trade deals cut. So at this point, whether or not the Supreme Court overturns them or not, we've already benefited from them and will continue to benefit.
Yeah. We got another story. I'm not worried about it. I don't think he's worried about the court, and I'm not worried about him with the court either. But yeah, I think
No.
it just took the rest of everybody else that normally is used to politics taking a year. It's finally been a year, and they're finally starting to get a
Mhm.
little comfort level with it.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I think he also took the position, like I said, of a lot of business leaders. They're like, look, okay, I may not know if I'm on good legal ground with this, but I know how we can benefit until we know.
Yep.
And I think that's in no small part what he did. Um, and once again, the American economy is benefiting from it.
Yes, sir.
Now, for those of you out there who are like, well, no matter what, the Supreme Court is going to go with the president just because he's the president. Well, they don't always. And this next story here is an example of that. And but I don't think it means what many of the people on the left think that it
Right.
means.
Right.
And I think that's the important thing to understand here. Being reported by Breitbart, a Supreme Court of the United States rules against Trump sending National Guard to sanctuary Chicago. The Supreme Court of the United States has ruled against President Donald Trump's plans to federalize and send 300 Illinois National Guardsmen to the sanctuary city of Chicago to help protect immigration and customs enforcement agents from violent rioters. In October, Trump had sought to deploy the National Guard to assist ICE agents, but a federal judge appointed by former President Joe Biden blocked the effort with a temporary restraining order. When the Trump administration asked the U.S. Supreme Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit to stay the judge's order, the panel of judges denied the administration's plea. That is when the Trump administration asked SCOTUS to stay the federal judge's order so that the National Guardsmen could be deployed to Chicago. On Tuesday, SCOTUS ruled 6-3 in a 6-3 decision that the Trump administration, quote, has failed to identify a source of authority that would allow the military to execute the laws in Illinois, and therefore the administration's application to stay is denied. So the first thing I think, Mike, to understand from this is they're not saying that he doesn't have the authority to do what he did. What they're saying is in requesting the stay, they didn't lay out their entire case in order to determine exactly what upon what authority they are using to send the troops. And so they just weren't able to remove the stay. They didn't rule against him in the overall decision.
Correct. And you could see from how they worded it there that Chicago and Illinois, they said that, well, they're sending federal troops to enforce laws. That would be a posse comitatus violation. However, it's been the policy and the standings of the DOJ and of the White House that we're not sending them to enforce laws. We're sending them to be logistical support and to protect federal facilities. So because they are allowed to do that. The
Federal
bypass on all
assets
of this, Craig, because
include.
this is going on as we're speaking with DC right now. They're having the same fight, and DC has said, "Well, we don't want you can't send DC National Guard into DC," and they said, "Oh, okay," and they got a federal judge to say they can't do it. And remember we had the ruling 6-7 months ago that says you can no longer have nationwide injunctions, right? Which means a judge can only put down an order that applies to people within his jurisdiction. So guess what Trump did yesterday? Guess what he did or it was the day before. They're sending Florida National Guard troops to the DC. It's outside that judge's realm, and they can do it.
Well, what's interesting about all this is, well, first of all, DC is different because the challenge they're having is, can you federalize troops from another state, from a different state? And that's why he's sending now Florida.
Also,
but
because
DC is different because of the Homestead Act.
The Florida troops are. It's not like California where they went against the governor's will. The governor here is like, yeah, I got 10,000 of them. How many you want?
There you go. I think in the end, because keep in mind that they have already ruled that he was able to send National Guard troops to Los Angeles to protect ICE agents. So I'm like, okay, well, why is it he could send them to Los Angeles? He's legally allowed to do that, but he can't send them to. Well, that's because the two cases are being argued on very different points.
Well, and remember,
I don't know. My question is,
the Illinois case, they're talking about specifically Illinois troops in Illinois. We already have Texas Guard troops in Illinois because the governor there said we have troops also. There's no challenge to that.
Right. Yeah, this is so. There's a whole lot of legal rigmarole that's going on here. And so you always have to be careful because a lot of times a ruling does not mean what you think a ruling means. And I thought Mike did a very poignant job of pointing out exactly where that difference was. And it has to do with the fact it has failed to identify the source of authority that would allow the military to execute the laws of Illinois. Well, like you said, they're not sending them there for that.
And it's now referring back to the story before, this is why Trump's not afraid of what the courts say, because they're always going to look like idiots, and he's always going to find an end run.
Well, yeah. Well, let's just put it this way: you don't have to be particularly bright to find an end run, because that's exactly what Biden did with student loan forgiveness. He just said, "Yeah, no, we're still going to go ahead and just forgive it." Yeah. I mean, originally he was looking at like $1.4 trillion, and by the time it was done, he had forgiven like something like 700 billion, or like 400 billion, somewhere around there. I mean, I'm like, that was after the Supreme Court told him he couldn't.
Right.
And by the way, everybody I know who's had loan debt forgiven, number one, all of them are top 5% income earners. Every single one of them. And every single one of them had like 6-digit student loan debt. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know, it pisses me off because there are a couple of folks I know. I chose not to go to graduate school because I didn't want to get $100,000, $150,000 in debt in order to get a postgraduate degree.
Right.
And they did. And now all of a sudden they're looking like the geniuses and I'm looking like the schmuck.
Well, it's a big, like, the big thing is they had money to begin with, Craig, and they know that.
Well, at the time they didn't, but they're earning really good money because they got that degree.
Well, that's what I'm saying. These were people from families that had the opportunity, that had money to they could have paid them to go to college. But Craig,
no,
and this is
not
basic,
all of them. Not the ones I know.
This is the basic math. is listen, if I can get a loan, because they're student loans, and I can get a loan at 3%, take advantage of that loan at 3% and take the money that you were going to spend on college and invest it in a 10% return. That's a win-win. And then at the end, you pay it back and you've still got a profit.
But here's what a lot of these folks who talk about they're drowning in student loan debt, here's what they did. They took out multiple student loans from multiple different people, different organizations, all of them at like 2%, 3%, 1%. And then all of a sudden they had all of these different payments and they decided to consolidate them at 8, 9, 10%, which is dumb, which is just plain dumb. They literally tripled, in some cases quadrupled the amount of interest they were paying so that they could get one lower monthly payment.
That's
Basic
where
personal
by the way,
finance.
folks, that's where those consolidation companies make their money. Okay.
Yes.
They got you a lower payment, but you're also paying them 5% more interest.
Yep. You're paying them a lot more money because they have more with you, and you already demonstrated you were having a hard time making your payments before, you are now a greater risk.
Yeah.
And by the way, these are guaranteed student loans. So they're less risk because they know they can always go back to the government to get the money.
Yep.
Anyway, bad decisions. And that's what gets me is a lot of these folks are people making bad decisions and by the way, for some of these the people who loan money to some of these 18-year-old, 19-year-olds who were doing undergraduate work, I'm sorry. You took a risk on somebody who decided that they were going to get their degree in Chicano studies or African studies or underwater lesbian, transgender, Native American basket weaving. You knew they had no way to pay that money back. You ought to eat it.
Well, but and they won't, because guess what?
Yeah.
They're going to attach to their paychecks for the rest of their lives and get their money back.
Yep.
They're going to get it back.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing. I didn't put that in the news today, but yeah, that's one of the things that's going to be happening is they're talking about now. They're talking about garnishing the wages of people who've defaulted on their student loans.
That's what you do when you
taking up to
default on a
50%.
loan, folks. You get your wages garnished.
Yes. That dar usually be what happens. Anyway, well, talking about bad decisions, let's talk Obamacare. I've always told you that I knew exactly what was going to wind up happening, and it appears that that's exactly what's happening, and that the Senate is actually working on a short-term / long-term fix for the issue right now that they're dealing with the Obamacare subsidies.
Why is Mike Johnson and House Republicans leaving town when there is legislation supported by a bipartisan majority of the House that would extend the Affordable Care Act tax credits for 3 years?
We are putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound. The problem here is Obamacare is not affordable.
So millions of Americans now bracing for higher Obamacare premiums in the new year after lawmakers left town without passing any short or long-term fixes. Joining me now for a bipartisan discussion on efforts to find a compromise, co-chairs of the House Problem Solvers Caucus, Congressman Tom Suozzi and Congressman Brian Fitzpatrick. He's actually one of the Republicans who broke with GOP leadership and signed on to a Democrat effort to extend the subsidies. Welcome to you both.
Hey, happy to be here.
Okay, so Congressman Fitzpatrick, I'll start with you. You crossed over on this discharge petition. For Republicans, it means it's going to force it to the floor. It's a clean extension of the Obamacare subsidies. But do you agree with your Senate colleague who said there, Cynthia Lummis, that it is like putting a Band-Aid on a gunshot wound to do that?
Yeah, Shannon. Well, we had a far more conservative alternative that Tom and I introduced, along with Jared Golden and Mike Lawler and scores of both Democrats and Republicans, that, quite frankly, mirrored the White House's proposal that came out. It gave more money to individuals through health savings accounts. It had very low income caps to make sure that we were targeting middle to lower income earners. It truly addressed the PBMs that are driving up the cost of pharmaceuticals. But that was not given a floor vote for whatever reason. So we were left with no other option but to send this vehicle, which is not going to be the final vehicle. Shannon, this bill has already failed in the Senate. We know that. But since this is a tax measure, technically it must emanate and originate out of the House. So we just needed to get them any vehicle. The Senate will then put their stamp on it. I promise you, this is going to end up being exactly the proposal that mirrors the bill that Tom and myself and Mike Lawler and Jared Golden introduced. So we could have short-circuited all of this by just putting that bill on the floor.
Okay. So as we pointed out earlier, we like when there's something bipartisan that could be beneficial, we like to highlight that it's actually happening in Washington because people think that it's not happening here. So I want to get to you, Congressman Swazi. Wall Street Journal says this about this immediate situation with the expiring subsidies. They say it'll affect roughly 1.6 million current enrollees. These are people with incomes above 400% of the federal poverty level who've been receiving subsidies. They say a family of four in Arizona making $600,000, a married couple in West Virginia making $580,000. So are you comfortable in extending those subsidies and telling your constituents who pay taxes that those are the families and situations they should be underwriting?
Yeah, let me put this in real life terms. A person in my district making $130,000 a year with a family of four now pays 8.5% of their income for their Obamacare. That's about $10,000 or $11,000. When these subsidies expire on January 1st, their insurance is going to go up from $10,000 or $11,000 to $30,000. So they're not going to buy their insurance. And there's going to be less people insured. When there's less people in the risk pool, everybody's insurance goes up. So Brian really has shown a lot of courage here by trying to work across party lines. He didn't want to support this particular deal. We don't think that's going to become real law. The idea is to get a vehicle to the Senate so that we can work together to actually address it. He's doing what we're doing, what the people really want, working together across party lines to solve real life problems. Fix this short term.
So the one interesting thing about this is, and I think that the example that he used, the 130,000, they're now going to wind up paying 30. I think his numbers are off because well, first of all, I know his numbers are off. I know that their insurance is not going. In fact, the closer you are to the median income, the less the less you will be impacted, right? In this particular case, what she's talking about is there are people, literally families that are earning $600,000 a year that are receiving Obamacare subsidies. Why?
Because they're cheating. That's why.
I'm sorry. If you are earning $580,000 a year, put it this way, you're at least a 5% income earner. You're probably a 2% income earner, top income earner. Why are we subsidizing your health care?
Because the system allows them to cheat, so they're going to take advantage of it.
Yeah. Well, there you go. I think that what you're going to wind up seeing coming out of the Senate, and I've heard senators talk about stuff like this. I've seen even Rand Paul has brought up some examples, but I think what you're going to see is, in order to get Democrat votes, you're going to see a temporary subsidy, in particular for those who are lower incomed, in order to make sure that it has relatively low income thresholds. But you're going to see an extension of the subsidies for them. But at the same time, you're going to see some real substantive fixes that are going to help increase healthcare costs for everybody, not just people on Obamacare.
Yes, I would agree. I think that's the path.
Yeah. Well, hopefully that will be the case, and I'm glad they're not trying to force something across the line. I think, you know what? I hate to say this, but if sometimes you got to make it hurt a little bit in order to make people realize that there needs to be a fix. And the more that happens, the more Republicans need to be talking about, look, this is the natural evolution of Obamacare, of the Affordable Care Act.
Yes.
Those subsidies, that was a Band-Aid. It was a shield. It was covering what really the cost of Obamacare was. So now you know that something needs to be done.
That's it. Yep. And knowing's half the battle.
Knowing is half the battle. Although there is also the saying that ignorance is bliss.
Yeah.
Democrats do seem pretty happy.
Well, they're pretty dumb. So
they are pretty ignorant. All right. This is a story, follow up on a story that we reported on, where there was an instructional assistant who was grading papers at Oklahoma University who gave a student a 0 because they quoted or referenced the Bible in their in their in a paper where they were asked for their opinion.
Yeah.
And as it turns out, they got a zero. And it turns out that this graduate instructor is no longer working or no longer teaching there at Ohio University. It says here, a graduate teaching assistant who gave a University of Oklahoma student a failing grade on a psychology essay will no longer be teaching at the university. The school released a statement Monday saying the graduate instructor's prior grading standards and patterns, as well as graduate teaching assistant's own statements relating to the matter, were arbitrary in grading OU junior Samantha Faulkney's essay. Quote, the graduate teaching assistant will no longer have instructional duties at the university, according to a statement from OU. I've had, since we talked about the story, I had a number of people who actually did have an opportunity to read the actual paper. They had found it. And there were actual references. So it wasn't like she was just saying, well, the Bible says. She was quoting scripture and verse and using it as the foundation for her position, which, by the way, was exactly what the paper called for her to do. So yeah, what the student as instructor did was arbitrary, and I don't want to say arbitrary, it was biased is what it was. The university's calling it arbitrary. It was biased because it was specifically discriminatory against her religious principles.
Yes. And as you did with the last article, I get to take credit for this article predicting this outcome. I said this was just going to take a little bit of time, and this is how this was going to play out. This was no longer going to be seen as acceptable because this university, Craig, they may have sat back and said, well, blah, blah, blah. But then they said, hold on, if we let this happen, we're going to lose a big old chunk of federal funding. So that student was wrong.
Yes, I'm sure that was it. But once again, also, I don't know that Oklahoma University has ever been, although most universities are liberal. I don't know that they've been accused of being overtly Oklahoma University of overtly liberal.
Right.
I think they know what part of the country they're in. I think they know what the state legislature there believes.
Yep.
And they know what the president believes, and they're like, no, we're not interested in losing a bunch of money.
Yeah. We're not picking this fight. We're not picking this fight.
This is not a fight that we are interested in picking in the slightest. And that's pretty wise, considering the fact that they can't necessarily afford to pay for the education owed to students over there.
Right.
All right, folks. Well, that now brings us to our parting shots. Parting shots are brought to you by Hog Holsters. Just go to hogholsters.com. Use the discount code The Rundown, all caps, no spaces, one word, and get your Hog Holster today. All right, these are going to be brought to you once again by our friends over at the Babylon Bee, fake news that you can trust. It says here, new photos reveal Epstein had a sick fetish for girls with giant black squares for heads.
Yeah, check it out. He's got a thing. Some guy's got a thing. He's got a thing.
There you go. There you go. Once you go black square faced, you don't go back.
Back square face. Yeah.
By the way, a new story on Nancy Pelosi's insider trading. Investigation reveals Pelosi purchased $10 million of Taco Bell stock day before marijuana rule change.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And listen, that's another rule that people have completely misinterpreted, by the way. But yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Okay, and this last one. You know that Donald Trump has basically said, look, we want to build more battleships, right? Well, they've come out with a preliminary design, according to the folks over there at the Babylon Bee, and they're calling it the Trump-class battleship. And here it is right here. Let's talk about some of the futures we've got here. We've got a flux capacitor for traveling back to a time to win Pearl Harbor. We've got the Tesla self-driving everything computer. The state-of-art Gaydar. I'm sorry. It's got Gaydar. Big, beautiful guns.
You know the sound that Gaydar makes, right?
What sound does it make?
Wee, wee, wee.
Pull over. Pull over. Let's see. Hallway lined with photos of past naval admirals with plaques detailing their accomplishments in comparison to Trump. It's got a plank for the haters and losers.
That's it. Yep.
Oh, Rosie O'Donnell seeking missiles.
That's it.
Golden Trump figurehead.
Yep.
Ocean View driving range. Got to have one of those.
Yep.
JD Vance meme for crew morale.
Yeah, he's
Big
wearing a
beautiful
sombrero.
Ballroom. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's got a ballroom. Yeah.
It's got to have a ballroom.
That's where the ballers.
Takes 4 pegs to sink instead of the usual 3.
Yep.
All right. The brig for low IQ bums.
Yeah, bum.
An MS-13 galley slaves.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Powered by MS-13 galley. Okay. Yep. And then a full service McDonald's.
Well, yeah.
I don't know, and I'm willing to bet you anything that he's already got someone who he can have do it for a song, build it for a song.
Well, yeah, he knows builders.
He does know builders.
Yep.
I got to tell you, man, I don't know that I don't care whatever y'all feel about the president. I don't know that we've ever had a more fun president. Ever. Never. I don't think we've ever had a more fun president.
Wake up every day and go, what did he do last night? Did you do anything last night?
What did he do last night? What liberals did he make cry?
He do any tweets? What did he do? What did he do?
What did he do any tweets? He doesn't tweet anymore. He does truths.
Truths, right? That's right. Right.
And you know what's funny is it's like I don't think is there anybody on Truth Social that pays attention to anybody except for Donald Trump?
No, it's like the Trump Express there. The Trump press system. Yeah.
It's like you don't even have to subscribe. You don't even have to be on Truth Social because you're eventually going to hear about it anyway.
Yep.
Because liberals can't help but talk about Donald Trump.
He lives rent free.
He does live rent free in the minds of the left. All right, folks. So that brings us to the end of our program. But before we go, we're going to give one more quick shout out to our sponsors.
Yep, Hitman Industries, hitmanindustries.net. Get on over there, get yourself some AR barrels, rifle caliber, pistol caliber, whatever you want. They got all kinds of pistols as well, pistol barrels, and other kinds of rifle barrels. That's hitmanindustries.net. California Republican Assembly fighting a good fight behind enemy lines. Now you can take part in California's future today. And if you want the best in field gear, tactical gear, web gear, law enforcement, security, EMS, fire, personal gear, whatever it may be, get your group together, get your agency together, place an order at uscombatgear.com where you can get everything except the gun.
All right, folks. So that's going to be it for today's program. We will be back tomorrow on Christmas Eve. Now, is today the official day for Festivus?
Oh,
is it the day before? Today it's just is today. Is it the day before New Year's Eve?
Christmas Eve. It's the day before Christmas Eve. It's the 23rd every year. Festivus is the 23rd.
Got it. Okay, so next year we will have an official observance, and we'll actually just what we'll do is next year, and you got to remind me of this. We'll have on our official list of grievances, and that's how we will celebrate, Festivus next year.
Okay.
Appreciate y'all. We will see y'all tomorrow on Christmas Eve. I'm sure that many of you will already be have plenty of spirits going. We probably will too by the time we get on air. But in any case, thank you so very much for tuning in. Thank you for liking and sharing the program and encouraging your friends to do the same. We will see you mañana. Take care.